Hey everybody, it's a Drop of Rain here. I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about the Recon class and some of the things we can do to make it a little bit better for ourselves. Now, I've been playing Recon for a long time now, since Battlefield 3. I have a little bit of knowledge about what's going on with this class and some of the changes they've made over the past iterations of Battlefield. Okay guys, to start out, we're going to speak a little bit about the rifles right now. I'm not a big fan of the self-loading rifles, but the bolt-action rifles definitely where it's at with this Battlefield. I'm a big fan of the M95 myself, simply because it has that stopping power, has a quick cycle time, and for quick scoping, no scoping, it is right on point where we want it to be. Now, as far as the other bolt actions, we have the Lee Enfield. Has a great fire rate, huge magazine size compared to the other bolt actions, decent gun overall. I just don't like the way it feels as far as quick scoping, no scoping. In close situations, it's not as reliable as the M95. We have the Krag. The Krag, the control, and it's just lacking a little bit of firepower on the body, but the control of this gun is just so on point with where we want it to be. The Kar 98 is the last one that we'll speak about for the bolt actions. As far as range goes, it is a beast. You won't beat a car across a map with the M95 or say a Lee Enfield or the Krag even. But it is just awesome gun for stopping power, long range. But it's all about which gun feels best for you. Now we're going to move on to pistols next. Okay, so as far as pistols go, we got the P38. It has great control, but it's just lacking something. It just doesn't feel, it's that starter pistol, you know, that they give you just standard. It feels good to start out with and everything, but when you try some of the other pistols, you'll notice it doesn't feel right compared to some of the other ones. Now we have, unless you have the skin for it, then, I mean, it's a cosmetic thing and it's up to you at that point. Now, as far as the Ruby goes, we have the magazine size. It has one bullet more. But aside from that, it's really not a great gun overall. You have the classic Battlefield M1911. It's great gun, but it feels like it's lacking the fire rate that it used to have in previous iterations of Battlefield. I'm just not a fan of it this time around, but still a great gun. I'm not gonna knock the M1911. It's been around since the beginning. Now we have the P08, just not a viable option compared to the other guns by any means. I don't really see many people using it in multiplayer, and I myself have maybe used it twice. Just not a fan of it. It's lacking in every aspect. It's lacking. We have the M1912, the highest fire rate for any pistol in Battlefield 5. It has good damage and it has a solid magazine size at 8 bullets. It is the gold standard for pistol in this game, and I wouldn't see why any other sniper would try to use a different weapon as a sidearm, because you have the revolver aside from that, and it just doesn't have that stopping power mid-range. I've talked about that in my previous video. The revolver is a 3-shot mid-range gun, where it should be a 2-shot. It should be able to compete with those semi-automatic rifles that the assault class has, but it can't, because the fire rate is so slow in comparison. And the Liberator, I mean, I can't believe they even put that in. They should have put another gun that was viable for us as a class, or any other class, really. It's such a slow fire rate. It's fun to do. You pop a body shot on someone and then pop them in the face with a Liberator just so they can see that they were killed by it. But aside from that, I mean, it's a 9 fire rate per minute. That's insane. That is insane. If they had a melee option for it, it would be great. Whereas you could use that as your melee weapon, and you'd have like basically a third weapon as a pistol that could fire one shot. So when you run out of your sniper ammo, when you run out of your pistol ammo, you pull out that last pistol and you fire that shot. Okay, now we're going to move on to some gadgets, guys. As far as gadgets go, I feel like this time around, we made out pretty well as a class for recons. You have the spawn beacon or the mines, which both viable options for us depending on the situation we're in. I like to use mines on every map except Hamada. Hamada, I always grab that spawn beacon just because I know I can go behind the enemy lines, drop that down. Whether I die or not, my squad has a solid spawn point, and anyone else who has the Pathfinder role can spawn on that beacon and get their squad into that position. And very tactical use of it on that map. Aside from that, though, the other maps you can flank around pretty easily. Hamada's just very open. Now the mines, they're just fun to troll with, but put it in a doorway and you know, okay, there's enemies coming in here. Put it in a doorway while you leave the base to go attack another objective, and you know where they're coming into the base from. It just gives you that idea, so you can call it to squad mates, okay, they're coming in here. Watch your back, or get to that position. Then you have your secondary, which would be the scope or the flare. Now, the spotting scope, it's great if someone's going to sit there all game, but it takes a player away. The flare, they finally buffed it. Pop one of those. It lights up the whole base. You can grab more at the ammo resupply points. And it is just awesome. I absolutely love the flare, and I think everybody should have that equipped, especially if you play an aggressive style of recon like I do. It just makes the difference in some situations where you're alone and you're against 4 or 5 people. To know where they are gives you that advantage. Okay, we're going to move on to the grenade and throwing knife, or the smoke grenade, next. Really, it's a personal decision in this situation. The smoke gives you that tactical advantage for a retreat if you're surrounded. The grenade can wipe out a whole building if you throw it in right on some guys who were damaged. And the throwing knife is it's a one-hit kill, close range. It's worth it. But again, it's personal decision. I use grenade on some maps, and I use throwing knife on others. So what it boils down to is, what situation do you find yourself in more? Do you find yourself in melee range with people where you're feeling like the SMG or the assault rifles are going to mow you down? Grab a throwing knife. You'll have that advantage close range. Or the grenade for just clearing out buildings if you're finding that they're camping in corners and stuff pretty often. Now, we only have 2 roles for every class, which is nice. It's like a little perk for us. Now, the first one is that sniper role. You get that marksman, which gives you just an advantage for if you pop a headshot, you can stay in scope longer. Now, if you're someone who likes to pop headshots pretty quickly, the majority of us who do, we don't stay down scope after we pop that headshot. We scope out, we recycle our gun, and then we quickly zoom around to see what else we can see, and then scope in, just because the scope glint has screwed us so bad this game. It looks like you have a flashlight on your gun, which is insane. But it is a balance factor for other classes, I guess. But I just find it a massive disadvantage for giving away my position when I am at a range. Say on maps like Hamada. The Eagle Eye perk that we also get with that sniper is awesome, especially for close range. You take out that pistol, and if you see a guy, just pop him once, and your team knows where he is. If you're gonna go down, he's marked, he's on radar. Everybody can see what's going on. Now, as far as the Pathfinder role goes, you have the Vanguard, which your team gets extra bonus for requisition if other people spawn on that spawn beacon, which is nice. It's not a major thing, especially if you usually have a high squad score. Not really worth it. but the scouting trait where you can spawn on other people's spawn beacons, that is very tactical and great on maps like Hamada, where you need that advantage sometimes, where if your team is stuck in a base or two and you can get out of that spawn, that it can save your team a headache in the long run. Now, finally, we'll talk about individual playstyles. Now, as far as playstyles go, I'm a very aggressive recon. I like to get to the objective, get out of the objective as quick as possible with as few people knowing as possible. I like that close flank there that you have sometimes, that feeling where you can come up on their side and see a whole squad lined up. I like those advantages, those situations, and I try to put myself in those situations pretty often in comparison to other classes that I play. And I'll talk more about that in the upcoming videos over the next few days. So stay tuned for some more videos. If you found this interesting at all, throw me a like, throw me a sub. Definitely tells me that I'm doing something right. And stay tuned for the other videos. Check them out. I have some previous ones that are going to be coming up here in a second if you want to check those out too. And have yourself a great week.